Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning to you. It is time for Coffee Ann here on ON AM and FM. It's Friday morning. It's January 26th, and we still got some light rain out there and 38 degrees. Thanks for joining us, though, on this Friday morning. I'm Joe Callahan.
Welcome, Joe.
That's Dave Richards speaking right over there. Good morning to you, Dave.
Okay, hi there.
We expect Melissa Murray to be joining us momentarily.
Absolutely.
But joining us right now at the Coffee Ann
She's still
table,
in makeup.
let's say hello and good morning to this gentleman right over here, Chris Mellon.
Oh, look at
And he's behind the VX letters. We had a little computer issue this morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here, Chris. And Chris is running for Woonsocket City Council. And this segment of the Coffee Ann program is being sponsored by the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce. What's their phone number, Dave?
334-1000.
334-1000. They're also online, nrichamber.com. So we'll hear more about the chamber a little later on. But right now we want to talk to Chris, and because you're brand new to this whole political thing, correct?
I am, yes. It's the
Okay.
first time I've ever run for any political
Okay.
office.
Before we get into the political stuff, a little background on you. Are you from Woonsocket?
Hey, great question. So I'm going to have to rewind here a little bit. And
Okay.
it's always fun describing 53 years of your life in under 5 minutes.
30 seconds.
30
Go.
seconds.
So 5 minutes. Take 6.
Well, my name is Chris Mellon, and I'm married. My wife, Rebecca, we both live here in the city of Woonsocket. We moved here about 3.5 years ago. I have two grown daughters. One lives in Providence. The other lives down in Philadelphia. She's married down in Philly. I'm currently the Chief Information Security Officer for a biotech. I work out of Boston. I'm a hybrid worker, though, so it's nice. So I'm able to balance that workload. You know, when you don't have to commute 3 hours a day, you free up a lot of time in your life, I think.
So you work from home a lot?
I do work from home a lot, yeah, an absolute
Okay.
lot. I probably go into Boston maybe once a week, maybe twice at most.
You drive or take the train?
Oh, I always drive.
Oh, really?
I always drive.
Okay.
Because, I tried going up. You can drive up to Franklin, drive
Right.
for 20 minutes, get on the train, sit on the train. I just drive in.
No?
But,
Okay.
but, I'm that person. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go in the office. There's no traffic, and then
Right.
that's kind of how I roll. Right?
Okay.
So, but kind of, where am I from? I'm originally from Lowell, Mass. I was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. So maybe I can say I have an affinity for mill towns, being the
There
case.
you go.
But I grew up right up the road in Bellingham. In elementary school, I went from Clare Macy. I went to Mercy Mount over in Cumberland. Actually went to Mount St. Charles for a couple of years. But then ultimately ended up graduating from Bellingham High. Then I joined the Marine Corps right here in Woonsocket, down where the recruiting office used to be over near Chan's, I think.
Yeah, it was on Main Street.
Yeah, it was back in 1990, so it's been a long time. So I left for the Marine Corps. I started out with the military police, then went to CID, and then actually ended up as a special agent with NCIS.
Wow.
The cool part is I was actually stationed in Hawaii, so it was actually just like the TV show. But I can tell you, my office and my car weren't as nice as what you see on the TV show. I can guarantee you that.
And you left Hawaii to come back east?
It's even great. When I left active duty, it's even better than that. I left active duty and took a job with a place called a nonprofit called the National White Collar Crime Center, and they're headquartered out of West Virginia. So pay attention now.
Wow.
I left Hawaii and moved
To West Virginia.
Moved to God's country out in West Virginia. I have to be. It was on the other side of the Appalachians. That was really cool. But that job was awesome because what my job was to travel around the United States of America and provide free computer forensic and computer investigation training to state and local law enforcement.
Wow, that's a cool job.
Yeah, it was really cool. You know what's even cooler? I've now been to 48 states in the union, and I only have Wyoming and Montana left to visit, and I'll have hit all 50.
Wow.
So I think that's pretty wild, right? So it's
So
anyway.
that is on a lot of people's bucket list to get to all 50 states.
And I got 2 left. And I think Wyoming and Montana are doable. Like I've already got Alaska and Hawaii taken care of, right? So that's kind of.
I think you can do Montana and Wyoming in the same trip. They're
I
kind of,
probably-
sort of close to each other.
Probably should.
Only Idaho's in the way.
I think I can make that work. I'll navigate that one. So anyway, after I did that, I actually went back to the government. I was working as a special agent down in Fort Meade, working in counterintelligence, counterespionage. I was like literally catching spies for a living, so that was really cool.
Wow.
And then I got lured out to the private sector, and I spent a lot of time out in the private sector building businesses, mostly around professional services and cybersecurity. So this was really great for me because now I kind of took all this government experience and now learning how the ways of business, if you will. Which actually ended up, an interesting thing happened is through some connections, I was contacted by the White House and was asked to come work there, and I was the Director of Information Risk Management at the White House. My job, so what that translates
which
out
administration?
to... This was during President Obama's. It was I think it was year 6 and 7.
Okay.
And it was, what that job was in English, it was like cybersecurity. I also maintained the Federal Records Act and the Presidential Records Act for the Office of Administration. So it was my job to make sure nothing ever got deleted and everything at the end of the administration got lifted up and delivered to the National Archives. So, so outside of securing the White House, that was kind of my big part of that job.
So how long have you lived in Woonsocket now?
So 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Okay.
So yeah, I'll come around the bend here. I left the White House, did a little time working in the financial sector, moved back up to Massachusetts about 6 years ago. And right towards the beginning of when COVID craziness was happening, my wife and I decided to stop downsizing and upsize, and we started searching for a place to live. And we started in Boston. We looked all the way up New Hampshire, all the way down here in Rhode Island, and I kind of grew up here, and it'd been like 30 years, so it was a little weird coming back. But we stumbled upon this house for sale up in the North End, and we just fell in love, and now we spend our days just doing maintenance.
She a Massachusetts girl?
Actually, I met my wife in Japan. She's actually from Southern Illinois. So it actually took some coaxing to get her to move back up to New England, and I had to lie about the weather a little bit, but.
All I was going to do is show them the ocean. And as soon as they see the ocean, they're like, oh, we're never leaving. Especially people in the Midwest.
We have better weather than Illinois. I mean, I got friends in Illinois always telling me how doggone cold it is, how much snow they're getting and everything.
Although she was making fun of me the other day. Remember we had a tornado warning a few weeks back, and all us Yankees are just looking out our windows while she's hiding in the basement. Right? So she's like, you guys just don't respect tornadoes up here in New England.
Well, we really don't.
We don't respect the National Weather Service for triggering the thing precipitously. So, but we know better. See, in Illinois, tornadoes are a real thing.
They are. I don't want to.
In New England, tornadoes are a curiosity that really are more bluster than their damage.
Wait till she goes through a hurricane here.
Yeah, no, they don't get the hurricanes out in Illinois.
All right, so that leads. So you've been here for 3.5 years, and so what led you to the decision to try and run for Woonsocket City Council? There must be a few factors.
Well, it's a really good question. It was really came down to one basic one. Well, first. I'd like to think most of us, we elect city officials to represent us and represent our interests, whether it's local government or national. And so I can go do my thing, right?
Right.
I'm electing this person to represent me, and we're putting a lot of trust in people like this. And the incident with the Mendon Road, I don't want to get into who did what, but I got to thinking, I was talking to my wife, like, I pay a good amount in taxes. We pay a good amount in taxes. And just like if you invest in a public company, you want to make sure your money's being used appropriately. And when I view taxes as investing in the city of Woonsocket, and I was like, I could just shrug my shoulders, I could look away, and I could hope for the best. But I've always said hope is not a plan. And this time I said I have a moral decision. Do I want to be a part of the solution, or do I just want to walk away? And by virtue of the fact I'm sitting here with you right now, I think that kind of answers the question of what I decided to do.
I think that's part of your Marine background. Marines don't run, so they jump in and try to figure out the problem.
Run towards the problem.
That's right.
That's my mindset. And I recognize I have a fairly unique and varied background over the last 30 years of my life, and I think I bring some really unique skills, knowledge, and history that I could bring to the city of Woonsocket. In other words, I think my skill set. Slip this in with the rest of the city council members, and I think we'd make a pretty solid team.
Have you attended any city council meetings just to see how they run and what takes place?
I have only missed one since I've declared. So a part of it was watch and learn. I do that. Walk in, sit down, be quiet, and listen.
Yep.
I missed. I think I missed one event where there was a lot of the city employees showed up, so I decided to avoid that one.
Okay.
There was some sort of they're doing something. But I've been trying to get to all the meetings and the special council meetings since I declared. A lot of it is to listen, find out who's who, what's what, but it's also procedural, paying attention to procedures, so I can get as close to as possible as hitting the ground running if I get elected.
Okay. Have you introduced yourself to any of the Woonsocket City Council members that are on the board now?
I've met Mr. Ward. I've met Brian
Thompson. Okay.
I just nothing more than handshakes like McGee. There was a Christmas party that we just stuck out, but really Brian is probably the one who's been the most open to stick out his hand and introduce himself and offer up advice to navigate this thing known as politics. So I was really appreciative of that.
Okay.
You'll do well talking to Brian. He'll learn stuff.
I'm going to assume that your wife is behind you on this, but that takes some coaxing.
Well, the first thing my wife asked me, she's like, "Chris, this is going to take a lot of time out of our lives."
Yes.
And she says,
not just meetings on every other Monday.
And it's she says we're going to have to dedicate a lot of time, and it isn't just the meetings; it's actually getting out to the community, doing a lot. You have to be proactive. And my wife and I are a team. I view her as a force multiplier for me, and we discussed this. And without her backing, I wouldn't have made this decision. Right.
All right,
So,
great.
yeah.
So when you went out to get your signatures, were people I don't know, I want to say happy or surprised, but were they forthcoming with signing your nomination papers? And okay, we'll use the word happy. Happy to see that someone new was running.
Well, it was all over the map.
Okay.
First of all, I think these days you need to be prepared to be rejected by doorbell. Like a little button will chime at you, and then a machine voice will just simply tell you.
Who
to
are
go
you?
Away. Ring doorbell is a fascinating thing in life right now. So, and for the most part, the majority of the doors, and I'd like to emphasize, I did go to a signing party at St. Joe's and at Post 85, and I really appreciate them inviting us candidates in, but my wife and I decided not to find proxies to go get signatures because I am new, and it was important for us to actually be knocking on doors. For the most part, folks here in Woonsocket were very neighborly. Even if they weren't going to vote for me, they're like, yeah, I'll absolutely support this effort of
running.
Of the political process and sign the paperwork. For the most part, I'd say everybody's very neighborly. A lot of the feedback I got a lot of positive feedback about a new face. But to a T, most people are like, who are you?
Well, that's right.
And this is why I've been trying very aggressively to get my name out there and introduce myself to the community. Whether you want to vote for me or not, I really think it's important you know who I am. Because in my worldview, it isn't just about this election. Again, conversation with my wife. This is like, what do we have, 9 months? Once this thing.
Well, yeah, primary election in March. Do it again in November.
And do it again in November. So the bigger game plan is do it again in November and hopefully again down the road. But so it's been a fascinating experience. It really has. And then, like I said, you have to get used to rejection by doorbell. It's just a fascinating thing. So.
And it's it's not really you. It's just we just don't want anybody coming to the door.
That's true. And it's funny. The first day I went out, you're carrying a clipboard. They instantly think you're selling solar panels or windows, and it was put the clipboard down, knock on the door, right? So it's one of those things. So.
All right. I don't want to hog this up, but Dave, you got anything off the top of your head you wanted to ask Chris?
I'm enjoying the lively conversation with candidate Mellon here. I think that. It's interesting to listen to his answers on things, and I think also that there's a different perspective. He said it earlier with probably a little bit more succinctly that he's been different places, he's seen different things, and that can't hurt bringing different ideas in. You and I know that as we attend conventions to bring in ideas that might be able to do our work here in Woonsocket pretty well. So it's always nice to churn things up a little bit. And this is what he is. And if the voters think that that's what they want in the city council, they can vote for him. But I'm also very much refreshed by his attitude. Okay, here I am. Okay, what I got to do? I got to do this. Okay, I'll sign these papers. I'll get somebody else to sign these papers. Okay, now we're all set. Now what do we do? Knock on the door. Okay, I'll go do that. And then when at the end of the day, you're not dealing with a seasoned professional politician. You're dealing with somebody who's just got a lot sincerity and wants to go out and do what's necessary. This is nice. You don't get this every day in the political world, Joe.
That's
or
right.
maybe you haven't noticed.
No,
So
that's good.
But if the voters want that, then that's fine. And on March 5th, we'll find out.
All right, we're going to take our first break here in the Coffee Am program. More coming your way, but this segment of Coffee Am has been sponsored by the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce. Anything you want to say about the chamber there,
I
Dave?
do. How did you know? Well, what's the matter?
Just taking a
Yeah,
look
well,
at different
listen,
cameras.
you could have told me about this before the show started
first
because they
time I
were
saw
flashing
it.
in your face and you didn't know. Okay, fine. But now you know if you see cameras flashing that it's not right.
Anyway, the chamber.
I can just go and reset them, you see. All right, let's see what we have here. Yes, for the chamber, the interesting thing about the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, and of course you touched on it earlier, Joe, is that the advocacy and the meetings and exchanging of ideas is quite valuable when you're running a business. Our next meeting for the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce is coming up. Let's see, this will be a week from next Tuesday on February the 6th. It's a big meeting. Governor Dan McKee, who was on our show yesterday talking with us at length, a little bit more at length than we had originally planned, went overtime on the thing. I caught the dickens on that afterwards. I told you I had an appointment here. All righty. Well, anyway, that's going to be at the Bello Grand Hall of Bryant University in Smithfield on Route 7. And it's the Eggs and Issues breakfast from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. Again, a week from next Tuesday, February the 6th, the anniversary of the Great Blizzard of '78. People of my vintage always remember that. Whenever they hear 6th, 7th, and 8th of February, they know those are the days that we lost in the blizzard. But anyway, as we say, if you were a member of the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, you would have got this in an email. You click on the very friendly-looking blue button, and you register for it just like that. And I do remind you that all Coffee and listeners have dispensation to attend chamber events that conflict, and you can always catch us on a convenient replay. Then is Welcome Wednesday the next day on February the 7th with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Rhode Island. That'll happen down in Providence. Welcome Wednesday Networking Coffee Hour. The 33rd annual celebration, otherwise used to be known as the Chamber Meeting. The annual meeting of the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce at Bally's Twin River Lincoln Casino Resort. That's coming up on February the 27th from 4:45 to 7:30 p.m. Note that chamber things that happen in the evening get you out like at 7:30, so it's not going late into the evening. Even their big celebrations is going to not be a very late event, so you can catch some Z's, catch up on some office work or whatever you have to do before you go to bed, and then you're back to it the next morning refreshed, having not lost hours of sleep at night. All of those things. The 33rd annual celebration is February 27th. There's lots of things coming up in March as well, as the chamber's in full swing. And meanwhile, they are down there on Smith Street in Providence looking into every nook and cranny for things that the legislative critters may be doing that may affect you and your business. And they let you know about it. It's really up to you, but they will be down there. And of course, they will show businesses' point of view to the legislators before the decisions are made. And it's all part of the advocacy of the Northern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, 334-1000. Don't call now. Call at 9 o'clock this morning, right after they open for business.
Very good. And comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240. More Coffee Ed coming up.
This is Ed Carew of the Carew Investment Group, 765-8880, with some simple advice about investing. The truth is, there is no simple advice about investing. The old days of financial uptrends and downtrends, lasting for days, weeks, and months or longer, are gone. Sometimes trends last only part of a day before changing direction. Investing is not an activity for those who cannot take the time to study and see each twist and turn for the opportunity that it truly presents. Since 1987, I've seen them all, and I'll invest your money the same way I invest for myself. Carefully, very carefully. And it won't cost you a nickel to talk about it with me. So call me, Ed Carew, at 765-8880 right here in Woonsocket. Securities offered through Bolton Global Capital, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through Bolton Global Asset Management, a registered investment advisor.
Here's what's coming up next. Greatest Hits USA.
Hey, this is Chuck Matthews on Greatest Hits USA. And coming up this weekend, we're going to answer the following questions. What singer left the lyrics in a taxi cab? Who were turned down by Motown twice? And who had the #1 record this week in 1965? Find out. Turn it up this weekend right here.
Greatest Hits USA.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
ON Radio.
It is Coffee and on ON. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards, and we also have at 8:45. We'll do that, Dave. And we're also here with Chris Mellon. He is running for Woonsocket City Council. He would like you to vote for him, obviously. And
On March 5th, when we filled the seat that Chris Beauchamp vacated when he was forced to be mayor.
Is that the primary, March? I thought the primary was February.
That's also primary day, too. Yeah, but that's when the special election is. Did I get that wrong?
But
February 6th is the primary.
February
yeah.
6th. Well,
and he has to win then in order to move on to
get
the March.
Only 2 of us will move forward.
yeah, right. Okay.
So voting in February. So I asked this of Adam. I'll ask of you. I'll ask of Dan on Monday when he's here. Can you give us the 3 reasons that you would like to work on, or 3 things you'd like to work on if you're voted into the Woonsocket City Council that needs to change or needs to get better in the city of Woonsocket?
So let me first preface that and my answer with I recognize that Woonsocket is like a large ocean liner and is not going to turn on a dime.
Okay.
And this next, I have 9 months in this and less. There's only so much one could accomplish in 9 months working with the city council. So I want to answer this like I'm going to run again, what we talked about earlier. So
Okay.
I'm trying to have a longer view here.
Got to be positive. Okay.
So the first item that has my interest, and I think it's very topical right now, is the upcoming budget. And I think when you talk about budgets, and in particular like municipal budgets, you can almost bucket it up in 2 things. It's expected revenue and planned expenditures. If you really want to take a budget, that's what it is. And now there's going to be subcomponents underneath those 2 things. Now, for those of us old enough to remember, this is not a read my lips moment here, but I'm inclined to not try to raise revenue, but try to reduce expenditures first.
Okay.
So that's my mindset. However, given with the ARPA funds ending and given the challenges of the programs, it's all based around risk. I've worked on small budgets, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and multi-million-dollar budgets. I've built them, I've approved them. You have to make a lot of risk-based decisions, especially when you're talking about reducing expenditures. What programs are going to be possibly cut or reduced? And I think that's the hard part of budgets, because you have to be really objective, and you have to be clear, and in many ways there's no place for emotion here. We have to be very clear cut. We have what we have, and we have to spend what we want to spend. Again, I don't know, we might be in a situation where raising taxes is just going to have to happen. I don't know, right? Until we, the administration will put forth, and the finance department will put forth the budget, deliver that to the city council, and then the city council will do our thing. I mean, even, like by charter, if the city council wants to add more expenditures, they have to add more revenue. And where is this revenue going to come from? It's not going to come from the $10 for little stickers to dump off our yard waste, right? I think there's a lot of work ahead, and there's going to be a lot of collaboration going on, and I think that's what's most critical for the city council members. We got to collaborate, and no surprise here when I use this word, transparency out to the city. They want to know what we're doing, and I'm 100% willing to explain why I made a decision on anything on the budget, and I think that's super important for people to understand that. So that's kind of number 1 topical.
Okay.
But this really dovetails into something very, very important to me that I'm not hearing anybody talk about, and it's kind of, maybe they are, but nobody's talking about it. But when you're dealing with, going all the way back to, remember I said, talking about our tax dollars and the stewardship of our tax dollars.
Yes.
And when it comes to budgets, and I helped bring my current company public, and this is going back to the Enron deal and Sox and Sarbanes-Oxley, and you build financial controls around revenue, around spend, and you design these controls and you implement these controls, and if these are implemented properly, whether it was nefarious or negligence, what happened on Mendon Road shouldn't have been possible.
Okay.
If you design them properly. And what I'm concerned about is nobody's actually talking about root cause. root cause can't end at a person. If you end at a person, if you're doing root cause analysis, you're being lazy, right? You need to get into those processes, into those procedures, into those controls, or do the controls just simply not exist? Why did they not work? Why did our independent auditor not flag any of this? So I think a lot of energy should be pointed at where did the controls break down, or where were there no controls, and we need to fix that.
So it doesn't happen again.
So it doesn't happen again. And I'm a little bothered that nobody's actually talking about this. Okay. And I think this is really important for the city council to get involved in. So that's kind of number two big issue that I think we need to address holistically for the city, right?
Oh, okay.
This isn't just this one Menin Road incident. That's not the problem, right?
Right.
You know, and the last one, it's a little bit more nebulous in the statement, a little more vague, but I want to support any legislation. I'm very pro-business. From walking around knocking on doors, a lot of feedback I got, there's a perception and a belief through many of the residents that I've spoken with in Woonsocket that we are not pro-business, we are not business friendly. And I want to support any economic initiatives or legislation that will help bring more business to Woonsocket, better paying jobs. I haven't just read, Mr. McGee just put out some pro-business legislation at the last city council meeting, and whether you agree or disagree with him, he's doing what he's promised to do. So I think that's pretty awesome on his part, and those are kind of like my top three things. Obviously, there's probably a laundry list more of things, but for right now, those are the top three topical things that come to mind.
What I'm hearing as I'm listening to candidate Mellon here, Joe, is that here's a guy that is thinking logically. He's thinking dispassionately. This isn't junior high school where I don't like you, or I'm not going to vote for this because I don't like you, and stuff like that. He's saying, okay, what are the facts? Let's make the hard decisions and get the job done. Am I reading this right?
Absolutely, and
that's what I seem to be hearing here.
I find myself to be...
It's not about personalities.
It isn't. I find myself to be pragmatic, practical versus an idealist. It's kind of how I view my personality. I'm not an extremist nor a radical.
That may make make a political job more difficult. You know?
If you've seen some of the messages I got in social media, I can absolutely confirm that. Yes,
right.
Absolutely. Right.
Are people criticizing you?
Listen, people criticize everybody.
I know, but what do they
criticize me?
I know.
I think yes.
Why? Because you knew?
Well, I've got the new stuff I've gotten because they haven't heard of me. But it's a funny thing to me right now in the United States that describing yourself as a moderate will trigger people.
All right. Yeah.
I know. Both sides don't like you because you're not on their side.
But at the end of the day, I have to be true to myself, and I have to be true to what I believe are the best interests of the city. And I think I've spent my entire career putting my country ahead of myself. And that's what I've done the majority of my professional career. And I want to do that again here in Woonsocket. Put Woonsocket ahead of me, and then therefore ahead of doing the right thing for everyone in the city.
This might be premature, but I'll ask it anyway. If you get onto the city council, any aspirations to keep going, like state rep or?
Well, he already mentioned then there's an election in November too.
Well, but I'm talking years now. Maybe mayor and maybe Congress, things like that.
It's a fascinating question. It comes down to what we were just talking about a little while ago. I looked at the work that it would take to simply be on city council and still maintain my day job. And if I want to move my political career forward, I can't do both. So there's that balance. I would have to make that career decision to pivot in another direction. And right now, I'm not ready to commit to a decision like that. And I love my job. That's the other thing.
Have you informed them of what you're doing?
They know they're supportive. I got a really cool company I work for. This is just really great. So, and everybody's very supportive of what I do. I've been with them over 5 years. So it's spent some time. I think I heard I'm actually 1,300 employees. I think I fall into the top 50 now of employees of the company. So that's pretty cool.
All right. When you go around knocking on doors or ringing the bells, a little tough to do in January. Kind of chilly out there.
So, like I said, my wife and I just did it. I think we had like 4-hour sessions, and we would walk and knock. That first day was pretty rough. We were averaging one signature every 10 minutes, and we would had to jump back in our truck and get warmed
Warm
up
up.
and drink coffee and then get just back out there. And it was just 4 hours, and then the next day just get back out there. I think some people might have given us signatures just simply taking pity on us because we were
So cold.
it was so
That's
cold
why you have
outside.
to get more than what you need.
Yeah, absolutely right.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of the time that Chris can be with us here on the Coffee and Program, but we're going to give you a little more time. This you can talk directly to the voters, Chris, and just tell them why they should vote for you primary and election time in March.
Sure. My name's Chris Mellon. I'm running for city council, and I recognize I bring a very unique and interesting skill set not normally seen in local candidates, and I think I can bring that experience here to City of Woonsocket and be a real positive influence in helping move the city forward.
All right, very good. If they want to contact you, is there any way to contact? Do you have a website or a Facebook thing going on? Or?
Thank you very much. I do have a website. It's chrismellen.org, Chris, MELLEN.org. Very important. It's MELLEN.org. And I also have a very active Facebook page where I'm trying to really, essentially lay out my life history for anyone who wants to read it to figure out who I am. So.
All right, very good. Chris.
Storefront window.
Yeah. Chris, thanks for coming in.
I super appreciate it. Thank
This
you.
has been great. Time for a look at the forecast right now, and the forecast is being brought to you by Unbound.org.
Rain ending as drizzle today, high near 41 degrees and a breeze from the east. Tonight, a slight chance of drizzle overnight, cloudy, overnight low of 36. Saturday's weather. A chance of drizzle in the morning, cloudy, then becoming mostly sunny in the afternoon, high of 39. Sunday, rain and snow likely in the afternoon, then switching over to all rain and then back to all snow as the day wears on, high of 38 degrees. Little or no snow accumulations expected on Sunday. Sunday night, snow possibly mixed with rain continues, then all snow in the wee hours, overnight low Sunday of 29. Monday, snow in the morning, switching over to snow showers between noon and 4 p.m., cloudy skies all day, and very breezy from the north. Tuesday, mostly sunny and 33. Wednesday, partly sunny and 35. And next Thursday, partly sunny skies with a high of 36.
Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, we have cloudy skies. Looks like the rain has stopped at the moment, and we have 38 degrees. A girl in Kenya dreams of becoming a doctor. An elder in Guatemala dreams of being part of a community. Reach out and change their world, and it will change your own at unbound.org.
You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
When you're thinking about a place to go out to eat with your family or the whole gang, or maybe something quieter for just the two of you, head over to ON Radio's website, woonsocketradio.com, and click on the restaurant guide. This gives you a listing of the best restaurants in the area. You can take a look at menus and possibly even make reservations. This is a great resource to see a bunch of restaurants all in one place. Remember, it's woonsocketradio.com and click on Restaurant Guide. And if you own a restaurant that's not already listed, call WOON Radio at 401-762-1240 for information on how your restaurant can be on the Restaurant Guide. Call Joe at 401-762-1240. This segment of the Coffee and Program is sponsored by the Valley Breeze newspaper.
The Valley Breeze has been a local news leader since its founding in 1996, and more people are reading our stories today than ever before. We believe our mission of making our community stronger by telling their stories is not just a tagline, but a way of life for our staff as they connect with you, our loyal readers and advertisers. Our team thanks you for always reading, always reaching out, and always helping toward our shared vision. Check out any of our 5 editions or visit valleybreeze.com for more.
All right, Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here. Dave Richards is out of the studio, but he'll be joining us momentarily. And Rich Elaine is here from Post 85. Hello there, Rich.
Hey, morning.
Glad you could join us. And we did get one note that was called in. It just says so much for Bill Belichick going to Atlanta because they've hired somebody else.
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Yeah,
I
and
saw
so
that, yeah.
the problem is, if you call it a problem, there's only 2 open head coaching positions in the NFL right now. Seattle Seahawks,
Yeah.
the Washington Commanders.
Mhm.
And I don't see him going to Seattle because Pete Carroll is still there. And I think there's a real clash right there. So that leaves the Commanders. And you know, at Belichick, he's so close to Don Shula's record. If he's only 14 away, you know, he wants to get it. So he can't go to the CFL. He can't go to the USFL. He's got to stay in the NHL. So and FL, I should say. He's not going to coach hockey. That's not going to work at all. But if he goes to Washington, Washington is like the Patriots. They're just as bad.
He won't have the patience for that.
So it's not going to be a year or 2 before he gets to 14. It might be 3.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be 75. Will he still want to do this? I don't know. But maybe he doesn't get picked up by anybody. And then what does he do?
No, booth job. You'll get.
Can he do TV?
You know what?
He's kind of dull.
No. He was pretty charismatic when you watched the Army Navy.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw the interviews they had with him before the Army Navy game, but he really. Yeah, he did a heck of a job. I thought he did well.
Well, that would be interesting if he did that. All right, Rich, what's new? What's going on? What's happening at the Post down at River Street?
Well, definitely stuff we're talking about. Of course, in the wintertime, like everybody else, we're a little slower down there. But just some of the stuff that's going to be coming up that people, if you got your pens and papers out of your calendar nearby, you might want to mark these dates down. On February the 24th, which is a Saturday at 7 p.m., we have a fantastic trio of ladies with acoustic guitars coming down, the Salty Sister Project. We were extremely lucky to get them to come down to Post 85. Of course, it's an indoor concert. Of course, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, everybody said, "Oh, they got the pavilion." No, not in the pavilion. No.
It'd be a nice breeze coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we'll be inside, and there's never a cover charge whether we're outside or inside. So, like I said, Saturday, February 24th at 7 p.m., we got the Salty Sister Project. And then on Sunday, March 3rd, from 2 to 6 p.m., we're going to have some acoustic fun with Christine Ann Bolin. Christine plays at some of the local venues around here in Woonsocket in southern Massachusetts. Yeah, you probably heard Christine. Like I said, she brings a wonderful, wonderful tone with her acoustic guitar, and she's going to have Tim the Banjo Man Benjamin with her, as always. Now, normally we have our meat raffles every Sunday. I shouldn't say normally. We do have our meat raffles every Sunday, right around 4 o'clock. So what Christine will do is she'll stop playing at 2 o'clock. Then at 4 o'clock we'll have our meat raffle, and then Christine will go on for another hour or so, and just some nice acoustic music. So, like I said, Sunday, March 3rd, from 2 to 6, and then. I made the announcement last week. I still don't have a big update, but on Sunday, March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, we're going to have the Runnin' Wild Band down at Post 85 with some corned beef and cabbage. Now, I'm halfway guessing that that's going to be an afternoon affair because of the corned beef and cabbage. And I called the commander this morning, and I said, hey, you got a price on the corned beef and cabbage yet? But they just went out and purchased the corned beef, so they haven't sat down and been able to go over the figures and stuff. But Sunday, March 17th, if you haven't got anything to do on St. Patty's Day, you got a place to go and listen to Runnin' Wild play. One thing I did want to mention, seeing that I mentioned the meat raffle, is that every Sunday at American Legion Post 85, we do have our meat raffle down there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The tickets to the meat raffle are extremely cheap. There's 7 tickets for $5. And when you buy those 7 tickets for $5, not only are you entered into the meat raffle, but we also serve a little luncheon, or sometimes it's spaghetti and meatballs, sometimes it's pizza, sometimes it's club sandwiches, but chicken sometimes. So if you come down for the meat raffle on Sundays, you can get yourself a bite to eat for $5 and be entered into a pretty good meat raffle. So like I said, that's every Sunday right around 4:00. And Saturdays now, I had mentioned this last week, Saturdays we're still doing our breakfast sandwiches down at the Post. We start at 8:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock. And I'm always fascinated at our multi-talented commander, Bob Lafort. And if you're listening out there, yes, Bob, I am stroking you. Bob is the Saturday morning chef, let's say, for the breakfast sandwiches. He does the paninis, and he just kind of points to me and says, "Put that in the oven, put that in the microwave, do this, do that." But the breakfast sandwiches are really good. So on Saturday morning, if you wake up and you say, "I'm hungry," don't go to your local Dunkin' Donuts or your local Honeydew. Come on down to American Legion Post 85 and have yourself a real good breakfast sandwich.
All right.
One other thing I want to mention, like I always want to mention, is our veteran service vehicle. It's funny because last year when it first went into play, it was a little bit slow during the first couple of months. We didn't get a whole lot of telephone calls. But I don't know what happened the first of the year, or maybe it's because it's cold out or the weather or whatever. But we have been getting an unbelievable amount of telephone calls. It is. In fact, yesterday we got 2 telephone calls. And I've actually got a phone call where another day was booked, so I had to say, "Sorry, can't take you." But it's really, really starting to get busy. So anybody out there that, any veteran out there that wants to take advantage of our veteran service vehicle, I'll just give you a little bit of what it's all about. If you're a veteran and you live in the immediate Woonsocket area, or any town surrounding the Woonsocket area, we take our veteran service vehicle, which was donated to us by Imperial Chevrolet, and we will take you to your VA appointment. We will pick you up at your house. We will take you to the appointment wherever it's at, and we will wait for you there and bring you back home. So if you're a veteran and you're in need of this service, you can call us at the American Legion Post 85, 401-766-7585. The person that answers the phone will take your name and your phone number. I am the duty officer for the vehicle. They will get in touch with me. I will get in touch with you. We'll set you up with a driver and get you to your VA appointment.
All right, very good, Rich. We had a note that was called in, 766-1240. It just says Pete Carroll is no longer with Seattle. As far as I know, he is. He's no longer the head coach. They bumped him up to the front office.
To his highest form of incompetence.
Yes. So his current title, I got to get
That's
it right
how I
here.
got to own this place, I know.
He is an advisor and executive vice president for the Seattle Seahawks. So he's still there, and he's still in the front office, and that's why I'm saying there might be a clash.
He's still a factor?
He's still there. And he may send little notes down to Bill Belichick if he's coach.
That'll go over big.
Yeah, so he might not want to do that. So anyway, all right, we're going to take another break here in the Coffee and program, and we're going to put Dave to work now, because Dave, it's time for a second message from the Valley Breeze newspapers, which you happen to have in your hands.
I do, Joe. I have the Cumberland Lincoln edition of the Valley Breeze newspapers in my hand right now. And the Cumberland Animal Control is praised for saving a dog. I'm reading a headline from the front page. And, of course, in dealing with Woonsocket challenges. Of course, Woonsocket's dogs are now housed out in Burrillville at the shelter out there. Ethan Shorey has the story. Also from Cumberland, Ethan writes that the planning board in Cumberland is going to consider residential-only project and a new storage facility. And the official narrative that went boom. The Manville explosion, as you know, was 100 years ago Sunday.
Okay.
This coming Sunday. And if you grew up around here, you heard the story. you just you didn't grow up without hearing the story about the house that exploded in Manville on January 28th back in 1924, and the mistakes and different tragic things that happened leading up to that. 100 years later, the anniversary, and Sophia Barr has that story in the Cumberland Lincoln edition. Now, I'll hold up the North Smithfield, Woonsocket, Burrillville, and Blackstone. Notice they added Burrillville to the edition, and the top reporter for our area for the Valley Breeze, Bella Pelletier, a lovely lady that we've met on many occasions covering stories. It has the top story over here with her standing underneath the marquee at the Stadium Theater. And the title of the story is, I'm Moving to Woonsocket.
That's right.
That's really great.
Good for her.
That is nice. All right. Bella also writes from North Smithfield that owners believe that vape shop vandalism was part of a gang initiation. Where, in order to join the gang, you had to do something despicable, and that was what they chose. You can read about it there. Also, Bella has a story about the Woonsocket City Council discussing public safety, recreation center, and an animal shelter. You may have heard it on the air, but there's a nice little capsulized discussion of what the City Council has been discussing for a while, including some really great ads down here on the paper and throughout the newspaper as well, where I see one here for one of our favorites, Henry's Auto Repair, and it says there, hiring. Give us a call. We're hiring, serving all makes and models. That's one of our great sponsors, too. And they also advertise in the Valley Breeze, as do we, my friends. And I am very pleased to announce at this point that coming up in March, the Valley Breeze and ON Radio will once again bring the Radio Squares game to the air and to the Valley Breeze newspapers. And that's where you will find your Radio Squares contest game card in all the March editions of the Valley Breeze. More details coming up on that.
Very good, Dave. Thanks. More Coffee and coming up, too, here on ON Radio.
Are you looking for solutions to meet your business banking needs? At Milford Federal, the longest standing community bank in the area, they offer customized solutions for commercial lending, cash management, online banking, and payment processing services. Their business banking team is committed to the growth and success of your business with local decision making and a relationship-based approach. Let Milford Federal be your banking partner. Visit them at milfordfederal.com today. Milford Federal Bank, our community, your bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, and MLS number 465956.
All right, let's talk about Chance for a minute here, friends, because, tonight is Friday the 26th, and Monster Mike Welsh Band is on stage in the Four Seasons Banquet Room at Chance tonight at 8 o'clock. Now, if you buy your tickets during the day, they'll be $30, $35 if you wait to get in at the door, and it's a CD release party. Ooh. Yes, Nothing But Time's the name of the new CD, with one of Chance's favorite guitar virtuosos and incredible Monster Mike Welsh. You know where he got that nickname, Joe? You'll be impressed. Monster Mike. He was given that name by actor Ghostbuster star Dan Aykroyd.
Wow.
When Mike was only 13 years old.
But Dan knew him then?
And Dan knew him then, and he thought he was incredible. Monster Mike is right here in Woonsocket tonight, 8 o'clock. On the stage at Chance. Tomorrow night, Kim Trusty Band will be on stage. It's $20 in advance, $25 at the door. 8 p.m. showtime as usual. And tomorrow night, Kim will be singing the music of Unity, I Have a Dream, as a tribute honoring Dr. Martin Luther King here to end up January. It's all at Chance, plus, of course, great egg rolls and jazz and incredible food. Get the poo-poo for two at Chance.
We've unlocked the vaults, and we're replaying Casey Kasem's American Top 40, the 70s. This week is from January 24th, 1976. That's when Paul Simon taught us 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Helen Reddy was looking somewhere in the night. Foghat took a slow ride. And the Ohio Players rode the Love Roller Coaster. You'll hear those songs and all the top 40 hits from January 24th, 1976, right here on American Top 40, the 70s.
You can depend on us for public service, ON Radio.
Coffee and on ON AM and FM, Joe Callahan along with Dave Richards and Rich Elaine, and we have a note to get to, and it just says, a country divided. Nobody likes Biden and nobody wants Trump. That's partly true. And I'm going to say mostly amongst the young people, because my daughter, who is 18 and will be voting for the first time, has expressed the exact same opinion. I don't like this guy, and I really don't want that guy. She's actually used those same words. She goes, who else is there to vote for? I said, well, you can write somebody in, if you like. You never know who might come along.
Which would be your duty, but it's kind of like ineffective.
It is. But what about a third party? Well, I'm still hearing Robert Kennedy is running as an independent. He's been very quiet, and maybe he's waiting just to the summertime to make another big splash. So there is a third person out there. You just haven't heard much about him lately. So this person says no one has stepped forward. Well, that's not true because Robert Kennedy has. It may be too late to start campaigning. Maybe. This may be the lowest turnout, meaning in November, lowest turnout in voting ever. Possibly. Maybe a solution.
And they're gonna blame it on voter apathy.
Right. Yeah.
But that's silly because it's the party political bosses that are the ones that are causing the apathy by not putting forward candidates that the public wants.
Maybe a solution. Well, this is kind of the same thing they're saying here in the note. Maybe a solution is to have a Democrat with ideals to grab the nomination from the incumbent at their convention. But a split convention is never a good thing either.
Well, yeah,
but that's a reach.
Not under the system the way it exists. Yeah. But I particularly like nonpartisan politics. I know I lost an argument with my friend Joe O'Donnell about this at one lunch. But the fact is that I still like the idea of nonpartisan elections. You want to have parties, go have parties. Just don't drink too much and drive. The problem here is that when you divide the House and you create an us and them, you may inflame the passions of people. Some people are not mature enough to be able to bridle their inflamed passions, and then they start acting out and acting poorly. That's too bad. But if you looked at individual people, well, how I lost that argument, by the way, Joe, is that, that Joe O'Donnell said, okay, fine, carry it out. Have your nonpartisan elections, he says, and you're going to have 50 candidates for office, and nobody's going to get a majority of the vote. He says, what you're thinking about is fine to a point, but what really happens if you do that is you have chaos. He says there are countries in Europe that do this, and nobody has a majority, and everybody in government is a minority. And he says, and nothing gets done because it's all gridlock. He says, with the two-party system, at least it's only us and them. It's not us, them, and them, and them. And so he says, at least you can get enough people together marching in the same direction to get things done. Okay, I admit I lost the argument, but I still point to the negatives of the two-party system where a very few people decide who the very many people can vote for. And I don't care for that.
All right. Any thoughts there, Rich? Or you just
I personally don't see 78 million people changing their mind on Trump. I think if you backed him, and this is by no means an American Legion endorsement, so let's get that out of the way.
Personal comment.
Personal comment, yes. But I just don't see 78 million voters walking away from Trump. I think if you were a lack of a better term, a MAGA person to begin with, I just don't see that going away.
So you say if they voted for Trump in 2020, they're going to vote for him again in 2024?
I think so. I think the old adage of, the more
what he's lost is all the independents.
Well,
the free thinkers. The people who drank the Kool-Aid are still drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're going to follow him. But the people who were say, oh, well, I like not necessarily the person, but I like his policies, the independents that he got to vote for him that time, those people are going to say, yeah, but I just can't take the baggage.
I think that will straighten itself out when he picks his vice presidential nominee. And
there's an idea. Can we talk about that? Who in this great country of ours has not heard of Mr. Trump, has not heard of his braggadocio, his bully attitude? Who around here who has any kind of electability would stand next to him to run as a Republican vice presidential nominee?
I know.
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott.
Yeah.
And Vivek.
Yeah.
But are they not the
Vivek,
same?
I wouldn't.
But they were
just,
They were
you know,
both on stage with him in New Hampshire. Rah rah, he's our guy.
I think Tim Scott, honestly, and if Nikki Haley doesn't burn herself with him too badly, she might be an option. But right now,
long shot, I think.
I don't know. Since he took a shot at her dress, she might not want to.
You can't tell because he takes a shot at anybody.
Yeah, right.
He's
Yeah.
a schoolyard bully. Always has been.
No,
That's
and
just
I'm
the way
not
he is.
disagreeing with you with that, Davey. He, you sit back sometimes and you say, "Gee, I like what he does, but I wish he'd just keep his
Shut
mouth
his
shut
mouth, yeah.
and do his job."
But if he asked those two guys today to be his running mate, they would both say yes.
They would, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Vivek
the way
would
you look at it.
definitely.
Vivek and
Tim
Tim
Scott.
Scott, they
Yep,
would both say yes.
absolutely. Yep.
Well, certainly the United States of America, like any other country on this great planet, doesn't have a lock on people with low self-esteem who would misbehave in this manner. So there has to be somebody. But I did frame that as with electability. You know, that anybody he gets as a running mate, and you just intimated it, Rich, and when I say he, I say Mr. Trump. Anybody that Mr. Trump gets as a running mate has to appeal to unaffiliated voters.
Well, I hate to turn this into a race thing, but that's where Tim Scott has a leg up because he's African American.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he is.
So that's how colorblind I am.
So, but he is, but I don't know if you've seen it, Rich. Al Sharpton has already come out and says what an idiot Tim Scott is.
Well, they've always done that with
Have
Tim
they?
Scott. They've always had like.
They don't like him. because
No,
he's
no,
conservative.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, other things going on. You probably saw the pictures of it yesterday. That church that collapsed in New London, Connecticut. It was built in 1810, and but now they're coming out saying it can't be salvaged. The whole thing's gonna have to come down.
3 steeples it had.
Yeah.
So what did it do?
One
Just
of them
kind of
came
like
down.
fall over?
It just collapsed like down.
Yeah?
It didn't
Wow.
go forward. It just down. So its 2 remaining steeples will have to be demolished. One person was inside the building when it collapsed. It happened about 1:30 yesterday afternoon, but they got out safely. It's right down there in New London, Connecticut, and
Just to the west of Mystic.
Mystic. That's right. We're just gonna have to take the whole thing down now.
Oh, did you see the news out of Massachusetts too?
Which one?
Concord, the prison in Concord.
They want to close it.
Yeah, MCI. No, they are. They
They're
are.
definitely gonna do it?
Yep. It's closing. They said
there's 300?
The governor announced it. 350 inmates
where are
are
they
in
going?
there. And that's people don't realize this. Okay,
Well, they're closing it because it's half empty.
Well, yeah,
or half full. whichever
It's
way you
half
look at it.
empty because if you want it's half empty because of the of the liberal way that Massachusetts runs its penal system. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean that's just my opinion. But I worked at you don't have to take my opinion to mean anything. I just worked in corrections for 20 years. But yeah, and I was on the executive board of my union, so I have a little bit of knowledge. I just remember back they turned around and they didn't want to overcrowd Sousa Baranowski Center because that was a maximum, and you had MCI Walpole that was over another maximum security facility that was aged. Now, you take a look at the 1,200, and they talk about classifying these guys. You take a look at the 1,200 inmates that were in Sousa Baranowski and the 500 or so that were in Walpole. Now you're going to close Walpole, but you don't want to overcrowd Sousa Baranowski, so now you reclassify these guys. Well, I'm going to tell you what. If you think there are only 1,700 inmates in the state of Massachusetts that deserve to be in a maximum security facility, you're nuts. You're nuts.
Yeah.
So when you reclassify them, what do? You reclassify them to a medium security facility.
Right.
They should be in a max. It's all about the reclassification system. They put a tag on these guys and they move them wherever they want. So I mean I won't go into a long litany of it, but they've closed Walpole. Now another little known thing people don't realize is there was a small little facility right near Norfolk's, MCI Norfolk, called Bay State Correctional Center.
Right.
And Bay State had the older inmates, some of them with some medical issues, but there were still a good 250 to 300 inmates there. They closed that facility down. So now you're looking at Walpole, Concord, and Bay State, all in the last 5 years, shutting their doors.
And
in
this is how you
Massachusetts.
lower taxes, Joe.
It's also how you create overcrowding somewhere.
Yep, yep.
It's
yep.
just gotta
So I
happen.
mean, that's just it. You know, and I feel bad for the officers. I mean,
Yeah.
you got guys that are going to be shipped out now and have to drive another 20, 25 miles to work somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, it ain't right.
All right. On a good note, as we close out for today, the Clydesdales are coming back to the Super Bowl.
Yay!
Yay! St. Louis-based
Well, I
Anheuser-Busch.
might watch it now.
Anheuser-Busch has released a 15-second video clip teasing the return of the trademark Budweiser draft horses, so they'll be part of the Budweiser commercial.
And we're finally going to get somebody that can sing the national anthem correctly
Really?
this year.
Reba McEntire.
Reba McEntire is going to do the national anthem.
Although she'll still have the twang in her voice.
Well,
That's all right. At least she'll.
She won't be grabbing herself.
There, she won't be grabbing herself.
won't
She'll
be
sing it
adding
on pitch.
200. She won't be adding 200 notes that were never written.
Yeah.
There you
It'll
go.
be done in two and a
There you
half minutes, not 5 or 10 or 20.
I'd love to see. Why don't can we get some contemporary country artists to do the halftime show and I'm sorry, not Ella King, no, please.
No, not her.
Did you see the stories on
Oh,
that?
yeah,
By
yeah,
the way,
we
Ella
had a
King
lot
up
of
at the.
yeah.
Oh my God.
No, they're gonna go to the rap hip hop artists
God,
because
please.
that's what the
Please.
majority of the younger people want. They don't want the country artists there. They
my-
want Ludacris or whatever his name is, or Usher.
I got a
I don't know
six.
who's coming.
I got a
haven't
six.
heard.
I think
haven't
it's
been-
Usher.
I haven't been paying attention. Yeah.
I got a
Usher?
16-year-old
You mean
grand.
he's going to work the stands for
Yeah,
a while, and then
then
he's going to go out on
down
stage?
and sing.
I got a 16-year-old granddaughter that loves listening to Willie Nelson. I love my
well, there you
granddaughter.
There you go. There you go.
All right, we've run out of time, so we got to run. So thank you very much for listening. Our thanks to Chris Mellon. He's running for Woonsocket City Council. He joined us earlier in the program. If you missed any part of it, you can catch it online at thewoonsocketradio.com. Dave Richards, also thanks for coming in.
Hey, it's been great here. We got a chance to have some very interesting ideas flow. I like that.
And Rich Lane, thanks for coming in.
Hey, always a pleasure. And come on down to American Legion Post 85. See what we're all about. 870 River Street, Woonsocket.
All right, Dave.
And remember, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, Cruz and Bruce returns to the Saturday Block Party.
Very good. Do You Remember is coming your way at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
And culture lovers, please note the musical director of